Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Market Update, where we discuss leading financial and economic developments in Europe, Asia, and North America. My name is Tony. Let's jump in. And first up, for years, Washington elite have pointed to a humming economy, low unemployment, rising wages, and cooling inflation as proof of national prosperity. Beneath these glowing figures, millions of Americans have continued to struggle, and in recent months, this facade has begun to crack. Unemployment is inching up, wages are stagnating, and inflation has ticked back to 3%. Meanwhile, Wall Street's fixation on a handful of technology giants has propelled stock indexes to record highs, widening the gap between those who hold assets and those who do not. The result is a two-speed economy, one that looks increasingly like a Jenga tower, as economist Peter Atwater puts it. Quote, top-heavy and vulnerable to collapse, end quote. The data tell a sobering story. The richest 10% of households now account for nearly half of all US consumer spending, supported by stock market gains and rising home values. In contrast, lower and middle-income families are tightening belts in the face of higher living costs, resumed student loan payments, and mounting layoffs. According to Moody's Analytics, the top fifth of earners now make up almost two-thirds of total spending, while the bottom 80%'s share has fallen to just 37%, down sharply from pre-pandemic levels. Executives at companies from Chipotle to Hilton have reported clear signs of this divergence. Discount grocery sales and coupon use are surging, while high-end retailers and luxury destinations remain strong. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell and his colleagues have acknowledged the emerging bifurcation, noting that resilience at the top may be masking fragility below. Economists warn that the imbalance leaves the economy exposed. Quote, if anything goes wrong for high-income households, a stock market correction, for instance, it could knock the wind out of the last pillar of growth, end quote, said Mark Zandi of Moody's Analytics. Of course, the flip side of this is, if the wealthiest are enjoying asset appreciation, then a correction will also disproportionately affect them too. The psychology of inflation has also left scars. Even though price growth has slowed since 2022, consumer prices remain roughly 27% higher than before the pandemic. Many middle-income families are more cautious, delaying car repairs, trading name brands for store labels, and rationing household staples. As the economist we just mentioned Atwater puts it, many things once considered part of the American dream, home ownership, financial stability, even a night out, are no longer just unaffordable. They are now, for many, unattainable. Next up, Japan's new Prime Minister, Sanai Takaichi, convened a cabinet meeting this week to outline new measures targeting illegal immigration, foreign land purchases, and social insurance compliance. The move comes as Japan's foreign residence population reaches record highs, even as visa overstays continue to decline. Takaichi reaffirmed her pledge to strictly enforce immigration laws, citing the country's steady progress. As of January this year, 74,863 people were overstaying visas, down 5.4% from the previous year, and far below the nearly 300,000 recorded in the 1990s. The figure has held below 100,000 since 2010, even as Japan's foreign population grows at roughly 10% annually. According to the Immigration Service Agency, ISA, 3.95 million foreign nationals were living in Japan at the end of June this year, representing 3.2% of the total population. Despite the modest share compared to major Western countries, most are well over 10% and some are near 20%, the increases stirred online debate about immigration and crime. Quote, we should not create an environment that makes it harder for rule-abiding foreigners to live in Japan, end quote, the new Prime Minister told ministers, emphasizing the need for balanced policy enforcement. In May, the ISA introduced the so-called Zero Illegal Foreign Residence Plan, which aims to double deportations within 3 years and reduce the number of people remaining in Japan after deportation orders. Quote, appropriate regulations will ultimately curb the rise of xenophobia, end quote, an ISA official said. The meeting also addressed foreign land purchases, with Takaichi warning that speculative buying by overseas investors has inflated housing prices and raised national security concerns. particularly regarding property near border islands and critical infrastructure. Japan's approach mirrors moves abroad. Canada's ban on non-resident home buyers runs through 2027. Singapore imposes a 60% tax, and several US states have introduced restrictions. Domestically, the Democratic Party for the People has proposed a so-called vacancy tax targeting speculative purchases by foreigners. Public sentiment supports tighter controls too. A Kyodo poll in July found that 65.6% of respondents favored stricter immigration and property regulations, with only 4.4% supporting looser rules. This is very much in line with trends that we've seen across the West, where immigration skepticism has risen, with concerns ranging from crime, housing prices, and broader notions of identity. Still, Japan, like many, faces a delicate balance. With a shrinking population, the nation increasingly relies on foreign labor to sustain key industries. At the end of June, foreign workers rose 18%, totaling over 3.95 million residents, as we just said. The largest groups included permanent residents, 932,000, and technical interns, 449,000, the latter soon to be replaced by a 3-year skill development program starting in 2027. Yet, Tokyo continues to insist that Japan does not have a formal immigration policy. Scholars like Junichi Akashi of the University of Tsukuba argue that many measures are more about political messaging than practical economic impact. Quote, "There aren't all that many foreigners who will be affected by the restrictions. They are more intended as a message to the public." End quote. Japan, like many countries in the wider developed world, faces a difficult policy question. What is the right balance of immigration, not just for economic health, but for wider social cohesion too? Next up, we have one more development to cover, but just quickly, if you want to continue to be on top of updates like today's, consider subscribing to Market Update. Hit the bell notification icon and you will be. If you're getting some value from today's episode, don't forget to the like button, and there is a Buy Me a Coffee link in the description below, or you can use the Super Thanks option below if you would like to help keep the channel financially sustainable. Finally, for today, we move to Europe. The future of European rail is being shaped by two starkly contrasting approaches. In Brussels, the European Commission has unveiled an ambitious €345 billion plan to slash train travel times between major EU cities by up to 8 hours, envisioning a continent-wide high-speed network by 2040. In London, meanwhile, ministers have ruled out further electrification of Britain's railways, prioritising cost control and the completion of HS2 over green expansion. The EU Transport Commissioner called the plan a bid to make rail competitive with planes across Europe. The vision is bold, trains travelling at least 200 kilometers an hour, linking capitals and major hubs, with the potential to halve journey times and shift passenger habits from air to rail. The Commission argues that citizens will, quote, choose the train over other means of transport, end quote, if the network is fast, safe, and seamless. Yet progress towards that goal has been slow. Despite earlier promises to double high-speed traffic by 2030, volumes have risen just 17% since 2015. Central and Eastern Europe remain poorly connected, and passengers still struggle to book cross-border trips on a single ticket. To fix this, Brussels plans a 2026 law compelling operators to share ticketing data. The Commission estimates €345 billion will be needed to meet its 2040 goal, rising to €546 billion for trains reaching 250 kilometers an hour, still far slower than China's network. It has proposed doubling infrastructure funding in the next EU budget to €51.5 billion, with additional private and national investment. Rail analysts remain skeptical. Quote, "It's more like a wish list," end quote, said independent expert John Worth, arguing that the plan lacks concrete financing and delivery mechanisms. Still, the industry has hailed it as potentially transformative for Europe's transport landscape. Across the channel, pragmatism is winning out. UK Transport Secretary Heidi Alexander told the Rail Industry Association that new electrification projects are, quote, not affordable right now, end quote. While some existing upgrades, such as the Midland Main Line, will continue, cities like Nottingham and Sheffield will remain partially reliant on diesel. Alexander defended the decision as responsible, saying funds were redirected to the £20 billion HS2 contracts and a 3.2 billion settlement with Transport for London. Her forthcoming Railways Bill will create Great British Railways, a new public body to unify operators and infrastructure. Critics, however, say the lack of passenger targets and stalled electrification shows that Britain, the nation that initially introduced the world to the railway, has rail ambitions which are shrinking, just as the continents are all steam ahead. Okay, that is today's episode and this week's final episode of Market Update. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Have a good Friday, have a restful weekend, and I hope to see you for a new week of updates on Monday.